Dzień dobry from Gdańsk again. Your runner sharpener can be your best friend and can be your worst enemy. It's up to you to take care of this relationship in the best possible way. This is standard Polish runner sharpener. I think this is the most popular design in the market and sold by far in the biggest number. I bought this one about 12 years ago and it's been with me since a very long time, and it was used in a number of my runner projects. So I think I sharpened on this machine more than 300 runners. What I found out after a while is that the base, this 3/4 inch plywood, is not the most stable base. It has a sort of questionable hinges from this side that makes machine twist in some cases. If you put it on the shelf for summer period, not in perfectly horizontal position, the material may twist a little bit, and when you take it back before winter next year, next season, you may find out that your alignment is off. Therefore, I came out with an idea to fix it to another 3/4 inch 20 millimeter plywood, and the whole design is fixed with number of screws to a plywood board, plywood plate, to stabilize it. This way, regardless of the surface I put it on, all the alignments that I have on my machine remain untouched, and they are not affected by how level the ground is. So this was the first upgrade I did to my machine. The second upgrade was the replacement of this plate. It was soft steel that got wear very quickly, and after sharpening a couple of runners I realized that there are some sort of dents, and it just worn out with time. And sharpening runners when you don't have perfectly flat surface here is very, very difficult, and therefore I decided to remove it and replace it with heat treated steel that's been on for 8 years already, and I've done more than 200 runners on this heat treated plate. It's glued to the steel profile with polyurethane adhesive that allows a little room for expansion and contraction of the material when it gets warm during sharpening, and you have to fix it in a way that it can freely expand and contract. And if you take care of this, then you may expect that this setup will work for a very, very long time. In my case, it's very intensively used, so I can confirm that this solution works perfectly. The next upgrade is the bed. I replaced the original aluminum bed, which was more or less half of this width, with the plywood one, made also out of 3/4 inch 20 millimeter plywood, to have more space, more working space, especially needed when I start working on the leading edge of the runner, so I have to run the runner along the leading edge, and that forces me to take the runner out beyond the table, the bed, and I need a bigger surface for that. So that makes the whole work by far more comfortable. So that's my second upgrade. The third upgrade is a grip, a hold for a runner. I've been using aluminum profile. That's a two-piece aluminum profile. One is both are angles, and they are made in a way that they have ovals here. I initially used 3 screws, now I use only 2 screws, and they are fixed with ovals, so it allows me to change within a range of 2-3 millimeters, change the width of the grip depending on the runner body thickness that I put in. So sometimes I have to work on somebody else's runners, and I need which are different width, and I need to adopt my grip to new thickness of the body. So that allows me to have a range between 25 and 27.5 mil, something like that. So I put the runner in, I squeeze it, and then I tighten the screws, and it perfectly fits the body thickness. This aluminum grip protects the runner surface. So if I take my runner after 10 years, the body, the outside body of the runner is basically untouched. It's looks like brand new, because every time I sharpen my runner, I put it in this grip, and that protects the runner's surface. It makes sense to have this grip about 45-50 centimeters long, so 18-20 inches long, for better stability, and that will protect your runner against any scratches while sharpening the runner. This grip has one disadvantage. It has the wall thickness of around 6 mils, so 1/4 of an inch. And when I'm working with runners with stiffeners, fixed stiffeners, it means that I'm not able to put the runner into the grip, and have it flat on the bed, because the stiffener is higher than the thickness of the wall. That means I either have to move the bed a little bit to the back and drop the stiffener in between the platen and the bed. That's doable. In my case, I have only one set of runners with stiffeners, so it's not a big problem, but using the opportunity that I'm replacing the bed and doing some other minor adjustments, I decided to make another grip. And this is what I've done. So big solid grip made of the sides are made of 3/4 inch 20 millimeter thickness plywood, and inside I put also a solid piece of wood representing the thickness of the runner body. It's just a pine wood, which is fine in this case. And having this made out, covered with melanin film, it allows very easy free movement on the table. So it slides so easy and so nicely that it's asking you to put the runner in and start your sharpening project. This grip is basically the thickness of the walls of this grip is sufficient to accommodate the runner with the stiffeners. So the thickness of the wall is more than the stiffener, and that way I can put my runner flat without any extra adjustments, and I can start sharpening immediately anything what has stiffeners below 3/4 of an inch. That's very convenient. Now, and this is brand new, so the bed is brand new and the grip is brand new, so it looks very nice. Another thing, another tip is that my grip on one hand has additional it's polycarbonate or plexiglass. I don't know what is it exactly, but it is 5 mm in thickness, and that makes quite an important difference when it comes to sharpening. So imagine I'm sharpening runner, and my runner's edge is using specific part of the sanding belt. What happens when I change the sides of my grip is that if I didn't have this 5 mm spacer attached to one of the walls, I would be running into the same part of the sanding belt, meaning that efficiency in the first sharpening will be lower after I flip the runner and go into the same position, because the sanding belt is already worn out a little bit, and efficiency of the sanding is immediately decreased. So what people do, if they don't have this additional spacer, is they count number of moves, which is a good thing. I do the same. And let's assume you start sharpening and you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you flip your runner and you are again landing in the same area on the sanding belt. And some people compensate this wear of the sanding belt by increasing the number of passes. So they go, instead of 6, they go 8 passes. That's fine, but you never know if this is the right approach or wrong, if this is one pass too many or one pass too little. So after some time it may happen that you are going in the wrong direction. So when I have this 5 mils spacer attached with double-sided tape to one of the walls, I make sure that every time I flip my runner in this grip, I go 5 mm higher. So meaning that on one side I'm sanding on the specific zone on the sanding belt. When I flip the runners, I go 5 mils higher and I use completely new part of the sanding belt. So having the spacer is way more easier for me, and I also recommend you to do the same. Now, before every season, I double check the calibration of my machine, and the calibration consists of basically 3 steps. So step number 1 is I take a source of a light and I try to keep it close to the platen, and then I need a straight edge. I attach and press against straight edge to see if there is any light coming through between the surface of the platen and the straight edge. And if there is no light coming through, I know that this is perfectly flat, and this is what is happening in my case. And that's an easy exercise. The next exercise is to check if the surface has no bumps or concaves, and I do exactly the same. So I put the light source beneath and try to see if this is completely blind. So if light is not coming through, I know that the surface is straight as well. And that's very important, because if you see any deviations, if you see any light coming through, it means that your sharpening is in danger, because you may be able to sharpen a runner with some problems, but you may be able to sharpen the runner, but you will not be able to apply a desired profile, so the crown, so to say. So if you plan to have a crown, to make a specific crown on a runner using a surface that is concaved, that will be very, very difficult, very frustrating. It will take a lot of time, and before you realize, your runner height will be significantly reduced, because you will be just removing too much material, trying to correct error that is a consequence of error of your setup. And the next important thing is to check the angles, because this is based on wooden support, and wooden support may have in some cases tendency to get twisted. Even if this is by fraction, it may influence the angle between your bed and the platen. And I use precise gouge, and since most of my runners are sharpened with 95 degrees angle, I know that to get 95 on my runner, I need to have 132.5 degree between those surfaces. So I set 132.5 on the gouge. I put the light beam here, and let's try and see what the gouge shows. So I will take action camera to have better close-up, better picture, and we'll share with you results of the measurements. I know I've been giving a lot of hard time to this machine because I was replacing several things, so I'm pretty sure it will be off, but let's double check if this is really off. We have a light source, we have a gouge, and as I come close, I slide it, making sure I have a full contact with the table, with the bed. I'm coming close and start touching the platen, and you can see that it's touching on the edge. There is one point to touch, and then it separates as further we go up. So it means that the platen is off by single degrees, and as I slide it down, the situation changes. Oh no, not really. So as I slide down, then I get pretty nice tight fit, and there is no light coming through. So this part is okay. I just need to work on that part when the light goes through. Right. I don't know if this was done on purpose or I found it by accident, but the platen is fixed with in two positions with this rectangular steel profile attached on both sides with two screws, and by adjusting those screws I can force the platen by having also a sort of shims or washers on both sides. I can play with by tightening the screws with a twist of this flat surface, and I will show you, demonstrate in practice how it works. So I know I have this off by a couple of degrees or maybe single degrees. Let me zoom in. Right, so the top of the table is completely off, and by turning the screws, I can influence the angle. That's the wrong way. So you see that the gap increases now, and now the gap closes. So you have to find out the best way to get it in the right position. In my case, I think it's too much. Yeah, I'm happy now with the outcome on this side, and I will double check on that side as well. Yeah, that side went a little off, so that was quite a lot of twist. You may not be able to see it in this action camera. You have to trust me that this is really happening. Oh, that's the wrong way. Okay, that's perfect. And double check on that side. Just a touch. Just a touch. Okay, that's perfect. So now I know my machine is calibrated. When I put the runner on, I get 95 degrees angle, and that's pretty much the end of calibration. There is one thing to mention. When you are out and you don't have your runner sharpener with you, something happens and you really need to use as emergency somebody else's machine, be aware that if that machine is not calibrated, you may get a weird result. So if the angle is, instead of 95 is 97, you will be sharpening that edge. If the machine is set for 98 degrees, you will be sharpening ice contact edge. And in the first case, when trying a sharpening runner, you have to really make a big change to your runner angle, while in the other case, it's just enough to touch the runner to the sanding belt, and it will immediately remove that portion of the surface, which is the actual edge. So what I would do when I'm forced to use somebody else's machine, I would use this simple gouge to see if the angle is right. Or you may use a gouge, or you may use a template, just cut it out of the plastic material or whatever, just make a template of the angle that you would like to have, and come to your friend's machine, touch and check, and you are good to go if everything is okay. And regardless of this measurement, what I would always do in such a case is I will mark my runner's edge at the distance of around 50 centimeters, 20 inches, and I would fully paint it with marker, touch it to a sanding belt just for a second, take it back and check what portion of the surface is removed during this simple check. If the sanding belt removes the whole surface, then it means that you are matching the angle. So machine is matching your runner's angle. But if only portion of the surface is removed, then it means that the angle is either too big or too small. And then you have to think about how to correct it. Because it's either you decide to change angle on your runner or find a way to fix the angle, calibrate the angle on the machine. And the last thing that I check on my machine from time to time is whether the rolls are spinning easily, and sometimes when dust gets in, it may start to make a noise, and then it's time to replace the bearings. One thing I've forgotten to mention is that when I got this machine, I replaced this roll to a smaller diameter to slow down the speed of the sanding belt, because the speed was too high and the runner was getting warm too fast because of this speed. So I changed it to smaller diameter and this way I slowed down the sanding belt speed. And you probably noticed that my grip, my new grip, and it's brand new, it will be used for the first time, it will be used this evening. I basically have two bed heights. Height number 1 lower, height number 2 higher. And when I put my grip on a thinner wall in position number 1 lower, I would use the bottom portion of the sanding belt. When I flip it to the other side, I would go 5 mils higher and use another portion of the sanding belt. When I realized that these two portions are already worn out, I would raise the bed to position number 2 higher and repeat the same procedure. So thinner wall uses the first portion of the belt, and when I flip the runner, the raised wall takes another portion of the sanding belt. This way, using adjustment 1 and 2, I'm using effectively 50% of the sanding belt width. And when I want to use the other half of the belt width, I stop the machine, I flip the belt like this, 180 degrees, and I repeat the same procedure starting from the bottom. So I set the bed height at position 1 and start sharpening, and then position 2 and sharpening again. This way I effectively use the full width of my sanding belt. I hope that these tips and tricks related to polish, runner, sharpener, and probably other sharpeners as well will help you to be more efficient, more effective in sharpening your runners and with all your runners projects. Think ice, and see you on the ice. Oh boy, this slides so nicely and so easy. It's inviting me to sharpen the runners, and at the same time it's looking so nice that I don't want to scratch the surface. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a file and do it by hand.